Today's daily reading is coming from the book of the Apocrypha. We are reading from the book of Jasher, chapter 38, verses 1 through 25, and reads as follows. And I, Hurry, king of Shiloh, came up to assist Elon, and he approached Jacob. When Jacob drew his bow that was in his hand, and with an arrow struck a Hurry, which caused his death. And when Hurry, king of Shiloh, was dead, the four remaining kings fled from their station with the rest of the captains. And they endeavored to retreat, saying, We have no more strength with the Hebrews after their having killed the three kings and their captains, who were more powerful than we are. And when the sons of Jacob saw that the remaining kings had removed from their station, they pursued them. And Jacob also came from the heap of Shechem, from the place where he was standing, and they went after the kings, and they approached him with their servants, and the kings of the captains with the rest of their armies, seeing the sons of Jacob approach them, were afraid of their lives, and fled until they reached the city of Shazar. And the sons of Jacob pursued them to the gate of the city of Shazar, and they smote a great smiting among the kings and their armies, about 400 men. And while they were smiting the army of the kings, Jacob was occupied with his bow, confining himself to smiting the kings, and he slew them all. And he slew Parathon, king of Shazar, at the gate of the city of Shazar, and he afterwards smote Susi, king of Sartan, and Laban, king of Bethchorin, and Shabir, king of Machanima, and he slew them all with arrows, and an arrow to each of them, and they died. And the sons of Jacob, seeing that all the kings were dead, and that they were broken up and retreating, continued to carry on the battle with the armies of the kings opposite the gate of Shazar, and they still smote about 400 of their men, and 3 men of the servants of Jacob fell in that battle. And when Judah saw that three of his servants had died, it grieved him greatly, and his anger burned within him against the Amorites. And all the men that remained of the armies of the kings were greatly afraid for their lives, and they ran and broke the gate of the walls of the city of Shazar, and they all entered the city for safety. And they concealed themselves in the midst of the city of Shazar, for the city of Shazar was very large and extensive. And when all these armies had entered the city, the sons of Jacob ran after them to the city, and four mighty men experienced in battle went out from the city and stood against the entrance of the city, and drawn swords and spears in their hands, and they placed themselves opposite the sons of Jacob, and would not suffer them to enter the city. And Naphtali ran and came between them and his sword, and smote two of them, and cut off their heads at stroke, and that was in one stroke. And he turned to the other two, and behold, they had fled, and he pursued them, overtook them, smote them, and slew them. And the sons of Jacob came to the city and saw, and behold, there was another wall to the city, and they sought for the gate of the wall and could not find it. And Judah sprang upon the top of the wall, and Simeon and Levi followed him, and they all three descended from the wall into the city. And Simeon and Levi slew all the men who ran for safety into the city, and also the inhabitants of the city with their wives and little ones they slew with the edge of the sword. And the cries of the city ascended up to heaven. And Dan and Naphtali sprang upon the wall to see what caused the noise of lamentation, for the sons of Jacob felt anxious about the brothers. And they heard the inhabitants of the city speaking with weeping and supplications, saying, Take all that we possess in the city and go away, only do not put us to death. And when Judah, Simeon, and Levi had ceased smiting the inhabitants of the city, they ascended the wall, and called to Dan and Naphtali, who were upon the wall, and to the rest of their brothers. And Simeon and Levi informed them of the entrance into the city. And all the sons of Jacob came to fetch the spoil, and the sons of Jacob took the spoil of the city of Shazar, the flocks and herds and the property, and they took all that could be captured, and went away that day from the city. And on the next day the sons of Jacob went to Sarton, for they heard that the men of Sarton who had remained in the city were assembling to fight with them for having slain their king. And Sarton was a very high and fortified city, and it had a deep rampart surrounding the city. And the pillar of the rampart was about 50 cubits, and its breadth 40 cubits, and there was no place for a man to enter the city on account of the rampart. And the sons of Jacob saw the rampart of the city, and they sought an entrance in it, but could not find it. For the entrance to the city was at the rear, and every man that wished to come into the city came by the road and went around the whole city, and he afterwards entered the city. And the sons of Jacob, seeing they could not find the way into the city, their anger was kindled greatly. And the inhabitants of the city, seeing that the sons of Jacob were coming to them, were greatly afraid of them, for they had heard of their strength and what they had done to Shazar. And the inhabitants of the city of Sarton could not go out toward the sons of Jacob after having assembled in the city to fight against them, lest they might thereby get into the city. But when they saw that they were coming toward them, they were greatly afraid of them, for they had none of their strength and what they had done to Shazar. So the inhabitants of Sarton speedily took away the bridge of the road of the city from its place before the sons of Jacob came, and they brought it into the city. And the sons of Jacob came and sought the way into the city and could not find it. And the inhabitants of the city went up to the top of the wall and saw, and behold, the sons of Jacob were seeking an entrance into the city. Amen.